Je m'appelle Jean, Jean Batailleur.
So let's watch that little trailer.
Je m'appelle Jean, Jean Batailleur.
So let's watch that little trailer there.
Que ça me fait peur.
Wearing scars from a culture of violence. Far too young to already have carried the cross. No escape, feeling hopelessly at a loss. Ready to cross the line, had nowhere else to hide. She heard a voice that spoke from somewhere deep inside of her. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. The whole world blind. The whole world blind. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. The whole world blind. The whole world blind.
Hey, there's the man we were just listening to.
Yeah, I
Eye
can
for
see
an
you
eye
guys.
we were just listening to. We have YeShe here. We have YeShe. Where are you coming? Where are you coming to us from, YeShe?
From Byron Bay.
I love that. I think I spent 2 weeks in Byron Bay. I love it.
Oh,
So-
nice.
I'm so glad I didn't get eaten by a shark.
Yeah, we
listen-
have a few around.
Yeah, you do have a few around. Are you a surfer? Do you enjoy the ocean?
I do enjoy the ocean, but I'm more of a walker than a surfer. I go walking on the ocean every morning
Well,
That's
and
nice.
swimming.
That's beautiful. Well, listen. It's a pleasure having you, and our Indie Creators in the Joy Score audience is just chomping at the bit to hear about your musical mastery and how you bring enlightenment to the world through your music. And that's what's such a blessing having you here and getting a sense of what makes you actually tick. And so we're happy to have you. So what makes you tick there, YeShe?
What makes me tick? Well, it's sort of interesting. I've had, I'm sort of at the end of a very, for me, it feels like a very long healing journey, actually. And I'm just, I just started creating again, because it's been quite a big one. I spent 9 months in hospital last year.
Oh no!
And, yeah, it came out of the blue. I wasn't meant to be here anymore, but I still am, I guess. So I was meant to be here still, but it didn't look like it for a while. So I just started actually getting, like, my energy levels is just starting to come back, that I started playing again. But it's been almost 2 years for me, actually. And
Wow.
yeah,
You probably have a lot of great material.
absolutely, and it's sort of interesting, It's sort of, a lot of people say that to me, especially friends. They go like, "Oh, you must have, like, lots of songs on the back burner," and it's definitely true. They are on the back burner, but I'm sort of still in the process. So I sort of feel I'm not quite there yet of what this journey, what I've got to learn from this whole journey, you know. But
that's really why we got you here, because it's that journey that you just referenced to that we like to get after in this program, because each one of us has our way to our personal Shangri-Las and our Nirvanas. So it's fun talking to artists that are immersed in that zone where very few people boldly go and get to exist there. But you know, our art demands that we exist there. So we're really looking for, you know, we just played the Eye for the Eye song that you have, and it's interesting to learn like the origin of that material and how you came about creating a piece of material like that, and what are the little new process that make it all worthwhile. Like, are you a meditator? Are you a yogi? Are you a spiritual guy? Are you a Muslim or a Shiite? Or are you a Christian Coptic? Or, I mean, what a Buddha, like, what allows you to get into that process? I mean, do you have a teaching that's gotten you into the mood to create, or is it just something that's just divine?
Well, I'm definitely a meditator, but I'm not sort of following any particular teaching of faith as such, you know, because I've spent so much time around the world, you know, like living in Japan, living in Africa, living all over Asia, and now here in Australia, and I've got a very strong connection with the local Aborigines.
And, there you go. Now we're talking.
So it's sort of, it's all there, you know. And for me, it's kind of all the same. It's sort of seems to be just like different expressions of the same source. And it doesn't matter whether I sit, you know, with a Tibetan Lama, or whether I sit with an Aboriginal elder. You know, it just seems.
Well, tell us about sitting with a Tibetan Lama. I mean, not many people get to do that. That sounds extremely unique.
Well, what's interesting, because my name YeShe actually was given to me by a Tibetan Lama, and it was right not far from where you guys are. He used to be up in Santa Cruz, sort of up in the mountains. There's a few Tibetan communities up there, and that one, it was called Pema Osaling, and his name was Lama Tachin. And I spent time with him back in the mid-90s, and he definitely had a very strong influence on me.
Let's try to connect that influence. Like, how is the influence of a Lama, as in Dalai Lama, how does that improve your music or your skill set? Tell us about that relationship. Like, why seek out a Lama to help you with your music? I mean, what's the relationship there?
Well, I guess I've always been a spiritual seeker, you know, and in that way, like, when I have had opportunities over the years traveling, I would always seek out to learn from people that I thought might know a bit more about the whole story than I do, and there's always something to learn. And I just always had a very strong connection, you know, with Tibetan Buddhism in that way. You know, like, when I was a teenager, I was about 13, I met Kalu Rinpoche back in Germany, and
well, what a privilege is that? So see, now you're just confusing the issue, because what is the benefit of meeting that guy to your music? What's the relationship to that guy through you to your audience? what is that fiber? What is that membrane? I mean, and this is something that you're seeking out because you know that it helps something. I'm assuming it helps you deepen your music to connect to your audience, I guess, in a way, right?
Yeah, and for me too, it's like when I play, it just like puts me into a similar zone of meditating, really. But it's more of a group meditation, like where you connect via the music with people, and there's always like something going on. I mean, it's always a great healing and process for me, playing to people and getting the feedback from people, what it does to them too. I can see that it's definitely doing something to them as well.
Right.
Well, so YeShe, you have a gift for with all kinds of instruments that are not typical, that people don't see all the time. And then you've just been on this huge healing journey. Do you feel that your seeking might have helped you for not only for your music, but for this point that you just rite of passage that you just went through?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it was very interesting too. Like being, I mean, I was always the kind of a guy that I hated hospitals. I never wanted to get near them, even when friends of mine were in hospitals. I made the visits always like very very short, because I just don't know whether I didn't like the vibe of the place or what it was, but they were always freaking me out somehow. So now being thrown into that zone, and then being like, I was given so much love, honestly, in that hospital by doctors, nurses, and that was the biggest part of the healing process for me too. And and also like then it was very interesting, certain nurses would come in, and the more you recognize the love that they actually put out and thank them for what they do, the more they go into that space. And I guess that is also a spiritual space. And then, I've always, like while I was in hospital, I was reading a lot, and I've always had like spiritual books there, and that was always a great thing for like the nurses picking up on that too, like seeing the books and asking me about it, and then having like really deep connections and deep conversations with people there. It's I mean, all of it helps me to know more about myself, to know more about my spirituality, and
listen. It's like what you're doing is making magic. So for your audience, we know that because we get to sit in the audience and we get to get pulled into your world, and we get to take this journey, this very chill journey with your reggae type music. How would you describe your music?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. It goes into the basket of world music, but it's kind of a funny basket. It's a very big basket. I don't quite know what to call it, to be honest. Because it keeps changing too. I don't know whether that the first song that you guys played was the program already running there, where the one that's called Woven, and it had a Tibetan singer in there too. That was a very interesting process, and that was the last album that I've done, and it was a sort of an experiment. I just wanted to go in and just do it in the raw, and have no kind of post-production happen, but just take the raw vibe of the moment. And so we just basically spent 5 days in the studio, and everything finished, like from start to finish. Like we finished the mix after the 5 days, and I just had to go, okay, let's put that out, because I just wanted that raw process in there. And then all these amazing things happened, like the Tibetan singer there, his name is Tenzin Chogal. He's an amazing singer, great friend of mine, and he actually comes over to the States a fair bit. He's done a few projects with Philip Glass and Laurie Anderson over there, and he plays. He often plays when the Dalai Lama tours the States. He plays before the talks, and he just happened to play at a festival near us here, and just rung me up on the morning that I was just about to go in the studio, and he said, "Oh, are you around?" And I said, "I'm actually on my way to the studio." And he said, "Oh, I've got the day off. I'm only playing tonight. I'd love to come in and collaborate and do something." And then he just walked in and just nailed it. You know, it was just like, and it was really interesting, because the ideas that I had of the songs that I wanted him to sing on, he did exactly what I imagined and more, you know. And it was really amazing. I was there in the control room, and I heard him sing, and I had to cry, because it was just so perfect, you know. Wow. How everything just fell into place.
Well, yeah, that's a beautiful story. So when you have that's what I was going to kind of get at is
YeShe's had a lot of serendipity in his life.
well, that's beautiful, but you're attributing that to a lot of it to sort of this what I wanted to ask, because you're like an ethereal, magical type guy. I mean, what have been the more profound experiences you've had making your music, or contacting higher realms of consciousness, or higher beings, or what, you know, do you have any experiences like that?
Well, it's sort of interesting. I had a lot of experience, or more experience, I guess, in that realm when I was spending time in Africa, and especially in Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe was where I learned this instrument called the imbira, which is the one that I play on that song, an eye for an eye. It's like a 20-something key, 28 key thumb piano, or people call it thumb piano. It's a funny word, but anyway. Over there, it's that instrument, like the Shona people, where the instrument comes from in Zimbabwe, they believe that the instrument was given to them by their ancestors. So nice. The instrument is used in traditional ceremonies over there, where basically, it's interesting, in Zimbabwe, every family has at least one spirit medium in the family, somebody that channels an ancestral spirit out of their lineage.
And an ancestral spirit. Can you define that? Tell us about that.
well, so it's kind of interesting, because it's like, I mean, for me in the beginning, it was very sort of, even though I was I was very open-minded and into spirituality and into all kinds of cultural things and into the idea of it, but then seeing it actually happen was really amazing. How somebody right in front of you like changes into a completely different person, you know, like and I was especially amazed by my teacher's mother, who was, when I first met him, she was already in her 80s, and we would do these ceremonies where you basically well, the ceremony starts about a week before the actual gathering happens, and it starts with the old women brewing up this beer for the occasion. And
Beer?
it's basically.
Are you saying this is an alcoholic-induced fiasco?
Well,
Ceremony.
it sort of is in a way. I mean, it's a bit different than a beer. It's basically, and it's basically this from sorghum and this maize, and it started like some of the drinks that you drink in the Amazonian jungle. It started from the spit. That's where the fermentation process starts. And then they have to go through this sort of, it's almost like a ritual process that they do for a week until, and the name of the brew is 7 days, because
7 days.
after 7 days, it's perfect.
Like a good Italian sauce.
You don't want to drink it the day after because it's too strong, and it tastes pretty wild too. But on that day, I guess it helps the process of just like opening up your whatever you need to open up your channels to let the ancestors come in. And it's also something. It's very interesting because we always, like, even with meditating, if we go back to meditating, like when you meditate, the best time most sort of masters say is like in the early morning hours, like in that time, kind of between 3 to 5 o'clock. And the same time is also the time when you play at these ceremonies where the spirits come, so it seems to be a time when we're sort of closer to those kind of realms. And so it's very interesting. So they kind of start at 8 o'clock by offering the beer in the ancestral shrine to the ancestors, and then they do different prayers and letting them know what they're planning to do and what they're wanting to achieve there, because often they do it to basically have a counseling session with their ancestors. If there's certain things that need to be sorted out, there might be some difficulties that some family members have with each other, and they need like some sort of higher authority to sort it out for them, so they, after they do that, then they leave the drink in there in the ancestral shrine, and the ancestors have their time of having a little sip of the beer. And then once they're done, after an hour, then the beer in these big sort of clay containers get passed around the ceremony, and like everyone is there basically, from the youngest to the oldest, so you got like little kids there, and you got these elderly people, and everybody dances. It's kind of, it's so great. I mean, I just had this image of my teacher's son that I was watching, how he was sort of like he was asleep outside, and then he must have woken up again. It was sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, and then he walked into the room where the ceremony was in, and as soon as he stepped through the doorway, he started dancing, and he was in the zone. So even the kids are like so in tune with all of that, and it's kind of like a big party with a purpose, like
party with a purpose. I love it.
They all dance together, and then by like 3 o'clock in the morning, then you see the changes. And like where I was trying to go before with like talking about my teacher's mother, she had two spirits that she was channeling, and one of them was a very well-known chief out of that area where they came from in Zimbabwe, in an area called Chiwota, and it was amazing. So you saw this transformation of this old lady who was quite frail and in her late 80s, and then as soon as the spirit came into her, her voice changed into this really deep male voice, and she started throwing her, like the things that she was wearing, jackets, she threw them off, and then she ended up grabbing this paraphernalia, because there in the spirit house they also keep the paraphernalia of each spirit. So she put on her headgear, and she got a spear, and she started dancing, and the way she was dancing and like leaping up into the air, she definitely didn't look like an old lady anymore. She looked like this Shona warrior who was like just in his prime, basically.
That's awesome.
And it was very, very interesting too. Like whenever I would leave and go back home, and then maybe after 6 months, go back and spend a few more months with them. Whenever I would come back, I would meet his mother again 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
Like I would meet her as his mother, and then we would have a ceremony, and then in the ceremony, when she was then the Shona chief, then the spirit would look at me and go like, "Oh, you're back, and where have you been, what have you been up to,
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting how, so I guess in that realm it was the most obvious to me that there is definitely a spirit realm, and that there
unseen
is
realm. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. That must have blown you away. I mean, you're like just saying, yeah, I just saw this sort of metaphysical, fantastical potential of what the earth is offering up to us humans to, understand that we're magic, and whereas magic is, the world is magic, and to actually witness that and to get verification of that can be a life-changing experience. I mean, it can be enough to like go, oh my God, literally, like, oh my God.
Totally, and what was interesting too, that I was still kind of like processing things with my mind, whereas like my son, who was traveling with me then, he was 5 years old at the time. To him, I mean, by that stage too, like I had spent time with him in Cuba, and we went to like different Santeria ceremonies there, and we also spent time in West Africa together, where we went to different ceremonies. So for him, it was kind of like a normal thing that he saw people changing in front of him, and it was almost like it wasn't a big deal for him anymore. He just like, they'd be like, she'd be there, as a warrior and jumping around, and then, he'd be like, and then once she saw like settled down again and was sitting, and people were sort of like sitting around to then ask question and have their counseling session, he would just walk over to her and sit on her lap, and and start talking to her like it was a totally normal situation for him.
Yeah, he was at the perfect age.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Their traditions are similar to a lot of tribes where they commune with the unseen realm, like the Hopi. How in their ceremonies they welcome in the star beings, and they come into the Kachinas. So it's fascinating to hear. And the same thing, there's a whole week process before you get to that point, you know. So I guess we should warn the listeners, do not try to do this at home alone.
Yeah. Or maybe do.
So does that give you confidence moving into the afterlife, that there's something there kind of waiting for you? Like, does it give you confidence? Once you start experiencing that kind of stuff, you're like, man, there is something else here that's existing in the realms, you know, the ancestral realms, and that's got to be life. I mean, it's got to be life changing. I mean, if I saw that, I'd be like, what?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we still have our mind trying to figure it all out, which is interesting, you know, and you know, going back again to my healing journey too, because I was half an hour away from like leaving the planet early last year, and
You're so funny. A half hour. Were you tracking this or someone else?
no, I was basically in this. I mean, they had to do this like emergency. They had to do this emergency surgery, and we basically, you know, we couldn't even go into the theater and do it the proper way, you know. And I was very lucky. I had this Indian Fijian doctor there who did a lot of work over in Fiji with people over there, so he knew how to do this without having all the apparatus ready to go, you know. And they basically said to me, you know, I was really lucky to have him, because he could have done it blindfolded, you know. But it was like being already in this place of like, it was totally okay to be there, and you know, like either outcome was okay too. It felt so safe, and it didn't really quite matter what happened, but at the same time there was also this thing like it wasn't my time yet. Like I still had things to do down here.
Yeah.
So
and that's really interesting, that listening point, YeShe, because like with music or any kind of creation, not a lot of people talk about sensing into their death gateway, but you were right there at the threshold and you sensed that you were still to be here. So that's super profound.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, and it made me also like question a lot of things, you know, like, because I kind of like, you know, when I got back out from the thing and I'm lying there with all these tubes connected, and I had to learn how to walk again and all these different things, you know. It was kind of where was I trying to go? Sorry, I just suddenly lost the thread.
It made you question a lot of things, like, so you realize,
like who am I, you know, and also this whole like identity, you know, that we sort of like sort of identify with what we do, you know, like who am I, you know, who is YeShe, the musician, you know, and is that really who I am, and is that all of me? And
all right, well, that's enough questions. What are the answers? What'd you come up with?
Well, I sort of realized that, you know, that there was definitely more to me than just, you know, being the musician, and that it actually didn't matter. It didn't change whether I was playing music or I wasn't playing music in that way, you know. So and that's why I kind of like just went also into this period of just sitting back and just watching things too, and like just trying to figure out, like, you know, who am I and what is my purpose, and also how I was sort of like identifying also with an idea, you know, and how that idea also, especially like dealing with the music industry, because there's one thing of like just playing music and then trying to have a career, too in the music
Oh,
industry.
that.
It's like you end up spending, I would say, 90% of the time, actually doing things you don't necessarily want to do, and 10% of the time is like the creative process and doing the gigs and all of that. The rest of the time is sort of like taken up by often quite stressful situations, like making a tour work, financial things, having to have your wits together when it comes to like making contracts with people and all of those kind of things, that can sort of in a way like add to your kind of stress level. And I just found that I just realized that like a lot of that time brought me to that place of illness too, of like that basically this illness was called in by stress. I'm like totally clear with that, and then to just go, okay, like maybe I just need to let go of any kind of ideas of who I think I am, and just,
That's so huge. That's enormous.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that like the gift of these arts? Isn't that beautiful? Like we get to like sit in the nuanced, quiet, ethereal world and learn who we are through our skill set, through the music, through whatever art you might be involved in. I mean, that's like such a blessing. I mean, I mean, think about how rare you are on this planet just to have had that experience. And would the world be different if like we all had that experience? I mean, we could no longer behave the same way if we just experienced what you experienced.
Yeah, and I guess it just came, it just had to happen to me somehow too, and now I'm in a very different space of how I actually approach my music and what is the importance to me about it, like for me it's now all about just the joy. I'm just looking at your logo here, the JoyZone. So it's like
that's why you're on, baby. That's why you're on. Yeah. You're on Indie Creators in the JoyZone, and it's about that. This place. You're a perfect guest. I mean, you're talking about this world on the other side. And it's like it's almost like somehow it's earth on heaven, in heaven, or heaven and earth, or heaven on earth, and it seems like the most of the guests that we have that are as enlightened as you, we're talking in similar languages. We're talking about this ambiguous thing that all of a sudden in our craft is no longer optional. It's no longer ambiguous because it has to be there in order for us to communicate to the audiences in the way that you would like to communicate with them. And a lot of your conversation here has been about healing. It's been about ancestral work and watching people become inhabited by spirits, and then you're talking about your very difficult experience with whatever illness that you were dealing with not so long ago, where you felt like you had 30 minutes to live, or you knew you had 30 minutes to live, and you realized it wasn't your time to go yet, and there was still work to be done, and here you are doing the work and sharing the work and healing people through your music. Yoo-hoo!
Yeah, totally. And also like now I feel like all I want to do music for is just for the joy, like if like anything else has to be like a sideline of it,
Right.
Like I'm not sort of chasing, like I'm not in that place anymore where I'm chasing some idea, I'm chasing some career, and I'm compromising myself into some situations where I don't even like want to be, but it seems, it seemed to be those kind of things where I felt like, oh, I got to do this because it's sort of like it's going to be good for my career.
Right. And so what does that balance look like for you, YeShe? Like what does joy in music look like?
Well, at the moment, I've turned a bit into a hermit, actually.
Well, I think we all have.
Sort of,
Have you put on 20 pounds? You don't look like it.
I haven't actually, but it's sort of, I've never put on weight, which is really interesting, like I've been on the same weight since I was 16, and somehow it's always, and even through the whole cancer story, I didn't lose any weight either. I still stayed on the same weight.
Well, that's a good job.
Funny. Yeah, and it's not how much you eat, it's what you eat. I reckon it's really important.
Absolutely.
Well, you can share that diet with me later when we get up. You can share. But, how listen, and on that note, how has this pandemic influenced your music and your community, and has it influenced your art? Are you writing music to sort of that has been inspired by these difficulties?
Well, it's sort of interesting because, like Byron Bay, it's almost like we've been like in a 3-week lockdown at some stage, and they closed down like craft markets and things like that. But the markets have just been reopened just recently, and my two sons are down in Melbourne, and there they have like the full lockdown at the moment. Like you can't get out of your house. There's a curfew at night, and you have to go everywhere in masks, and you're only allowed like 1 hour a day to go
like
out
Spain.
and exercise.
They're doing it like Spain.
So it's because and then it's sort of funny because then like we never had borders here in this country too. So now I live like I live about half an hour away from the Queensland border, which just used to be another state, and now I can't even go to Queensland.
Wow.
It's sort of interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine just a couple of days ago, and he does sort of import export with Africa, and he has to go back. He's going back on Sunday. He's flying back to Ghana because he has to pack a container over there. And he says to me, well, it's actually easier for him at the moment to go to Ghana, even though he has to go into quarantine there for 2 weeks when he gets there, and then when he comes back here to Australia, he has to go into a 2-week quarantine then again. But he says at least he can go, whereas like we can't even go to Queensland here at the moment, which is very strange. Yeah. So we suddenly have these borders, So suddenly there's like a border crossing that like never existed before.
Yeah, for the world citizen that you are, how does that feel?
It's sort of interesting, I'm actually in the process of like finishing off this this sort of little tour bus that I've been fitting out, and I'm looking into actually like once it's possible anyway to go and actually spend more time on the road here in Australia again, and to also connect more with the Aboriginal communities. And I really felt I'm really feeling like I want to go in and kind of do my part in giving back and contributing to the healing, because there's been so much in the 200 years that since Australia got colonized, there's been a lot of like stuff going on that just needs a lot of healing, and and I spent a couple of years ago. I spent a month up in Arnhem Land, northeast Arnhem Land, where I felt like, oh wow, I finally arrived in Australia, because up there it's just like it's a foreign country, like compared to like Byron Bay or Melbourne or any of these places, you know, like you go up there and English is the second spoken language.
So it's more untouched.
They still all speak Yolngu, and they're very connected with their culture. And I had this opportunity of doing like music workshops with kids in all these little communities around the place. You know, I would get into a little plane, you know, like just a little four-seater plane, and these guys would take me out into the middle of nowhere where there was just like a little airstrip, and there'd be a community there in the middle of nowhere of about 20 children. And I was taking.
So let's watch that little trailer there.
So let's watch this. This is one of your songs, Eye for an Eye. So when we come back, we're gonna
continue telling us about the children.
Tell us about the song.
No escape, feeling hopelessly at a loss. Ready to cross the line, had nowhere else to hide. She heard a voice that spoke from somewhere deep inside of her. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. The whole world blind. The whole world blind. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. The whole world blind. The whole world blind.
So where'd that? Oh my goodness, what happened there? I just lost you. We just had a blow up.
I can still hear you.
Oh, there you are. So tell us about that Eye for an Eye song that we just sort of promoted.
Yeah, Eye for an Eye. That's an interesting song. I sort of read this. I read this article about this group in Israel, and it was a group also back again to like, you know, healing old wounds. I've actually spent a bit of time in Israel too. I've been there a few times, and like we always hear about, you know, the bad stuff, you know, like, I mean, because news run on the bad stuff. But I read this beautiful article about this group over in Israel, and it had people, Palestinians and Jewish people, basically working on healing what was going on, and in that group there was guys that used to be soldiers and were on one side of the fence, and then there was people in the group too who were people that were suicide bombers, where it basically didn't work, you know, the trigger didn't work, and they had this whole shift going on and this whole realization of like things, and then so when I was really inspired reading that story about this group who was like there basically trying to heal those wounds and to come together, and like, and that saying an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind is actually a quote by Mahatma Gandhi.
Use it often. I use it often. I've suffered with that. When in my younger ages, I definitely had the eye for eye mentality going on. It definitely was a crusher of opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, most of us growing up in the West, go through that because it's almost part of our programming.
Yep.
To kind of like to see the other person as an enemy rather than as a friend. It's like you first kind of put on your defenses.
Well, I think the saying comes in as if you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you worse.
Well, vendetta, but from a Tibetan perspective, you're just creating more karma.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
And so out of that, just did something happen? I was thinking maybe something happened that you regretted that you personally got involved with to inspire that song. It was nothing like that, huh?
No, it was more like that I was inspired by that story, and then talking about like the two, because I mean the first verse, talks about this, this woman basically who was a suicide bomber, and what drove her to that point. And then
God, it's just
the
nightmare,
second
right?
guy was a soldier who was on the other side,
How do you feel about this Donald Trump's peace treaties that he just set in motion today?
The what? Sorry, the what peace treaty?
Did you hear about the peace treaty that just went into the Middle East? The peace treaties in the Middle East? No, got turned on that TV. There was some
Well, they might not have access to it. Yeah, if you look up Israel, they signed a peace treaty.
I know, it was a peace treaty, like the first one in 25 years with one country and the first one in 72 years with another country. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, totally. Well, it's sort of interesting, because, I always feel, them signing peace treaties doesn't necessarily, mean anything.
Exactly.
Most of the time, it's a bit of a publicity stunt, and sort of like other things, I mean, going on in the background,
Yeah. Well, we never truly know, but they signed between East Israel, UAE, and Bahrain. So then they're expected to sign in other Middle Eastern countries.
Right.
So we'll see.
Okay.
Well, we can always hope.
I thought of you. I'm like, wow, what perfect timing. YeShe, eye for an eye, and then we have, a very volatile area, at least coming to the table and talking about the value of peace.
Should we live long enough to actually not have that mentality going on in the Middle East would be a miracle in itself. Something would definitely have to happen. But I think the eye for the eye song. I think the eye for the eye song is actually perfect for America right now because it seems like there's a lot of this historical eye for an eye business going on now, where we have our.
I mean, the song was triggered by the story, but it has a very universal meaning. It's and that's the beauty about songs too, in that way, because you get triggered by the song, and you get triggered by a story or situation or by certain circumstances to write a song, and then you sing the song, and it might mean like 100 different things to 100 different people out there. It's everyone. So because we all have our stories, and then we hear a song, and then we connect our own story with that somehow. I forgot which song it was. I wrote a song. Even somebody came up to me after a show, and she said, "You wrote that song about me," And I said, "Well, I guess I did."
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, that's how music is. It is a universal language. It speaks to us on so many levels.
Absolutely.
So when you do the work with the tribes, you've had such a blessed life from my perspective, because you've had the opportunity to travel the globe and connect to indigenous way that's almost extinct, even mentioning your own country where you're living right now, that it's like another world, like it's true Australia, and you get an interface. What type of healing do you feel needs to happen within the tribal communities, and that can spill out to the general humanity around you?
Well, I think what needs to happen, like, let's say here in Australia, for example, is that we actually, as the white population here, just recognize the pain that we inflicted. And this, because it's not about, it's not about, because people say, oh, it's got nothing to do with me, and it's my ancestors did that, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, well, it's like there's pain being inflicted, and these, there's still a lot of suffering going on, and just, by saying, hey, this is what happens, and I don't feel good about it, and let's start healing. Let's start healing it, and let's do it together, because that's I just read a beautiful book too. I don't know, do you guys know the Australian singer? His name is Archie Roach.
Oh no, I don't. Do you know Thomas?
I've not heard of Archie Roach.
He's sort of in his late 60s right now, and he's a very well-known singer here, and he was the first one that came out with kind of like Aboriginal protest songs in the 90s. He toured the States too. He was, and so was his wife, Ruby Hunter. They were both part of the Stolen Generation.
Stolen Generation. Explain that. What's the Stolen Generation?
Well, Stolen Generation is like similar, and that's why the Aboriginals actually feel very connected with the First Nations people of Canada, because in Canada the same thing happened. I think it started sort of around the 1920s, 1930s, where they basically went to the Aboriginal missions. Here they call them missions. In America they call them reservations, I guess. And took the away.
Horrible.
To basically indoctrinate them in the Western ways, and basically cut off their lifeline to their culture. And like in Archie's story, for example, he was taken away from his family when he was 2 years old, and then ended up being in a few homes, and then ended up with a foster family when he was 6, and he didn't even know, like, until he was 15 and got this letter somehow from his sister who found him. He didn't even realize that he was different to the other white kids that he was in the high school with. Because he was so like just living that life, and they actually had even told his parents who adopted him that he didn't have a family, that basically his family got killed in a fire. So even the people, the good-hearted Christians then that wanted to do something good by helping this little guy out, they weren't even like told the true story, that kid still had a family. And it's sort of interesting how that's all working.
Most people don't realize that they made boarding schools, or in this case, it sounds like they placed them in homes. And took them away. I know out at Hopi, they took the children. One of the leaders I work with, he just walked home. from California. He left. So he didn't want to be there. But a pretty intense process for them to have their hair cut off, not only be spoken English, all of those things. So yeah, a lot of ancestral healing, which you saw in Zimbabwe, you know, the power of reconciling the past into the present moment through the unseen realms. Pretty powerful.
Absolutely. And it's sort of, you know, in even just because I don't know how long ago it would have been. I think it was sort of in the mid 90s or maybe sort of late 90s that Australia actually, the Prime Minister actually did this official apology, you know, of like all the past pain that had been inflicted on the Aboriginal tribes here in this country, you know, and even that, you know, that meant so much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not that much happened after the speech, you know.
What did you expect to have happened after the speech? Or have the Aboriginals been as active as some of our USA participants with BLM, so to speak? Do they have a movement over there, or is it the same movement?
Yeah, well, there's a movement. There's also there is a movement, and there's also still like quite a lot of separation, because that's kind of like the part that gets how do you say it? That, you know, for example, if they want, you know, like up in Arnhem Land, you know, now the government here is like very interested in Arnhem Land because Arnhem Land is very resource rich.
Yeah.
So they want to go in there. So they go in there and they do different deals with different tribes, you know, like bribing them and turning them against, you know, the other tribes.
Still, that crap still goes on. That's crazy.
It's still.
Oh my goodness, what's going on with this world?
Yeah, it's quite amazing. But on the good side, on the good news, I just talked to a friend a few days ago, and they, for the first time, the person that represents is an Aboriginal. He's a Yolngu, and a friend of mine was sort of like involved in the whole campaign, traveling with him out to the Aboriginal communities in Arnhem Land, and he said the other side were playing like a really dirty fight. There was a lot of
Don't they know that there's an internet and all you got to do is Google something to find out information? That's crazy.
Yeah, so so they basically they didn't think they were going to have much of a chance when they were in there, and they were amazed of like how many people actually starting to sort of like see what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what's really self-evident is you're a huge-hearted guy, and you're spreading joy through the world through your music. You're socially conscious. You live in a beautiful country that's getting wackier by the moment, just like ours. and hopefully we all come through this better and more sensitive and more attuned to our neighbors and and overall our race relations become what's the word, sequitur. Right, a non sequitur. Yeah, that's the right word. And we can just kind of get to the business of
human relations,
of ripping each other off and doing business. Like fair and square. Forget the color thing. Forget the ethnicity thing. Forget where you come from. Let's just do some business and get prosperous and live a full life. You know, and see if we can somehow cohabitate all 7 billion of us, right?
And look after the planet along the way.
Yeah, exactly. She's definitely sending messages for sure. And
that's for me in the lockdown, this whole lockdown story. I mean, the thing that I actually really appreciated about it, and that I actually liked about it, was seeing that in areas where nature got a bit of a break,
Yeah.
like for example in one example, in Thailand, the mass tourism over there, took a big toll on the environment, and a place, for example, like Phuket, which is a beautiful island, but the turtles stopped going there breeding, basically, because there was so much
traffic.
Boat traffic going on, and the beaches were full of tourists everywhere. They couldn't lay their eggs in the sand, and it was amazing in that short time that stopped.
Yeah.
How many turtles started breeding there, and how many little turtles we got running around over there again.
Well, and isn't it? I just got chills. But I thought this was great because I'm a big tree hugger, but it showed, I think, humanity how fast the earth can regenerate. And people always say, "Oh, she's sick, she's dying," but Mother Earth has no problem regenerating. It's just us that get in the way. So maybe we can have better living practices. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, and basically we worried about planet Earth as such, because I think the planet is going to be still there, we're sort of it's more like like we're cutting our own lifeline here by what we're doing, because the planet will heal again, picture, the planet is still there and the planet will heal itself, I really believe that, and so hopefully we get our act together, that we do it in a way that we can enjoy that process, that we can enjoy seeing that, and it's a crazy world out there, and I mean there's always a balance, there's always a balance, there's the crappy stuff going on, and there's always so much good stuff going
Absolutely.
on. Absolutely.
Well, listen, you're part of that good stuff, and somehow you found your way. But we only got like a minute left to run with you. Is there anything that you'd love to share with your audience? How we can find you? We've been posting your stuff. We'll post all of your links and stuff like that. But if there's anything you'd like to share with us that you haven't shared with us, go right ahead. We got like 60 seconds.
Yeah, well, as far as finding me, I guess I'm sort of on all the streaming platforms. I haven't got a website anymore at the moment, because it was funny. When I was sick, my website got hacked too, so it was everything.
You were having everything go down.
Yeah, it was just like everything was just happening. It was interesting, and so. Spread the love. Spread the love. We got you covered. We're gonna push it out. We got your handles, and no worries. But you've been a wonderful indie creator, and thank you so much for joining us. And if you ever, if you want to share your next album, you want to share a song with us, make sure you contact us, and we'll get you on again and talk about it and get into what inspired that piece of art, and we'll just dive right back in again. So. This is Thomas Artavani and Suzanne Toro, and we're here with YeShe, and he's just talked about his wonderful, beautiful process, and we're saying goodbye to him now from Indie Creators in the JoyZone.
YeShe, it's so good to see your smiling face. You look beautiful.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. So we're going to send you out. We're going to send this out.
So let's watch that little trailer there.
With a little trailer.
Thank you.
Wearing scars from a culture of violence, far too young to already have carried the cross. No escape, feeling hopelessly at a loss. Ready to cross the line, had nowhere else to hide. She heard a voice that spoke from somewhere deep inside of her. An eye for an eye,
that's how wonderful was he?
It's always great to see him. It was nice. I haven't seen him. The last time I saw him, he was here in Venice. We had me and his wife. We had breakfast at the Rose Cafe.
Nice.
So yeah.
No, what a beautiful guy. And it's what kind of what was his trauma? What was it that happened to him?
Oh, he had
Do you remember?
cancer.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no! I didn't want to say the C word.
Yeah, a big fight, and he survived.
Wow.
So that is so exciting. Yeah.
Well, lots of wonderful insights. I mean, he shared the ancestral connection. He shared his mystical experiences with the ancestors in those ceremonies. He didn't say if he was on anything or not, but we'll just assume that he wasn't. and well, what was cool is how he connected his own personal healing back to his work, back to his audience, and then his spiritual pursuit, deepening his own musical practice, which then allows him to connect with his audience in a way that potentially heals them, just as he healed himself with his music. And that's pretty awesome. I mean,
absolutely. He's got to perform with Xavier Rudd, who hopefully will be able to get on the show here. He just has such a magical way about him. He's traveled all over the world, and the instruments and sounds he brings are truly from the roots of the earth. So it's such a treat. It'll be interesting to see what he produces now after his journey through the death gateway and into rebirth.
Yeah, no, it really, really, really cool stuff. What did you get out of it? What did you pick up from him that you didn't know before?
Well, I just, I knew he was suffering when he got sick, and so I've been praying for him. So the whole interview was just joy for me to be able to see him again. Yeah. And, I'm really happy that he's going to be doing some ancestral healing with the tribes. I think his process right now probably gave him a deeper understanding of how to help others heal, since he helped himself already.
Yeah. So who do we have coming up next?
We have Tommy Tejeda. He is an illustrator for Marvel, for The Simpsons, an Emmy Award-winning, and he has his own spacecraft. I think one of his quotes are, "Aliens are real, get over it." So that'll be fun to talk to him about. I think he's a burner from some of the photos, so he can share that. So it'll be a super big treat. Amazing illustrator.
So for those uncool people who don't know what a burner is, what's a burner?
Oh, Burning Man, which didn't get to happen this year. It happened virtually, but it's a big no-cost event, except I think you have to pay your entry ticket. But once you get there, there's no cost the whole time you're there. And there's stages, music. Everyone builds this whole city out in the middle of nowhere here in California. And they stay there for a couple weeks on end, at least 1 week. I haven't made it out there yet. So this year, everyone did a virtual burner, and they burned the Burning Man on the barbecue.
So next we got Tommy Tejeda, right? Illustrator, Simpson guy. This is what's cool. Is this guy's like illustrated for The Simpsons. He's got an Emmy. He's also worked for Marvel Comics. So we've got him coming up next, and just in a few minutes. So we're going to reset, and then find Tommy Tejeda, because it's not going to be connected directly to this show online, but we'll be going live online in the same areas in a few minutes. So tune back into us in a few minutes, and you'll be able to listen to Tommy Tejeda, Emmy Award-winning illustrator. And that being said, we're going to send you out with a bong hit. No. No, just
a little
kidding.
bit more YeShe.
Just kidding. Is this YeShe here?
Yeah.
Well, look at that. How about that?
Oh, actually, we have Random Rab, which is great.
I thought it was Random Rab.
This is Remain Anew. That's perfect to send YeShe out.
YeShe is being sent out with Random Rab.
He remained.
All right. There he is, Tommy Tejeda.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Welcome to Indie Creators in the JoyZone. We're really excited to have you here today, Tommy.
Thank you. Thank you. An honor.
I think we're equally excited to learn a lot about your creative process. I'm really curious about your spaceship. I think it's really appropriate. I don't know if you saw the news yesterday. They were talking about life form being on Venus. Did you catch that in the news yesterday?
No, I missed that one. That's the one night I didn't go stargazing, of course.
Yeah, they announced that, I don't know who the astrophysicist was, but that they had found microbials and life forms on Venus, which is kind of, everyone's obsession has been Mars, but now welcoming in the love planet. I thought that's a good sign.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
life everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
We don't have the copyrights for life in the universe.
Yeah. And where are you from originally? I hear your accent.
My accent. I'm from Argentina. I'm from Buenos Aires.
Oh, that's right.
Born and raised, but I came to the States when I was very young, so I lived in California longer than anywhere else.
Beautiful.
Pretty much Californian. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm a traveler, a gypsy at heart, so I love culture and communities and food and accents. So I think it's great. So for you, what at this point in time here on planet Earth has you most interested or taken your attention from the creative process to the space process? Because you seem to be this otherworldly being that your quote was that aliens do exist, so get over it. Where did that come from?
You're an otherworldly being? Really? Really, Thomas? You're an otherworldly being. Awesome. He's
I don't even know what to start.
Well, listen. Here's the basis of the show, just to give you a little rundown. Independent creators, indie creators. I mean, we just love getting into your process, understanding what makes you tick. A lot of people have a spiritual bent on how they approach their work. A lot of people find solace in their work. A lot of people. And you're in an extremely competitive world, I would imagine. Illustration in Hollywood. I mean, you guys are like the geniuses that make these big budgeted films work. And there's so much brain power and ingenuity that goes into these films. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what it's like to work on The Simpsons, because that's like everybody knows and understands that where that program comes from, and everybody's been enjoying it for decades and decades. How'd you manage to get on that show?
Just dumb luck. I was living in Florida at the time in 1992, I think. I was visiting California for like a short week, and a friend of mine's wife said, "Hey, look, they're looking for artists. Why don't you go get a test?" I'm like, "Okay, well, what can you do? Do you want to do storyboards? Do you want to animate? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I can draw everything," because at that time I was doing comic books, so I got to draw backgrounds and everybody, And they're like, "Okay, well, you got to pick one. You can't do everything." I'm like, "Okay." So I picked out layout, which is animation. I the test, and I've been there ever since.
You've been at The Simpsons ever since?
Yeah. They called me. I got the job, so I had to move up and drive across country from Florida and relocate, and I've been here ever since.
So what is that? What is that like in that work environment? How many illustrators are there? Is it what kind of hustle buzz? Is it as fun to work there as it is to watch it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The whole crew. It's a blessing to work with everybody.
What's a day in the life on The Simpsons look like? What is that? What is that like? What does that look like?
Well, it looks pretty good. It's not, even though it's super corporate because it's Fox now, Disney. it's a cartoon. It's a comedy show. It's a cartoon that makes parody of the whole entire universe. So people don't take things seriously. As in, like, you can wear shorts and flip flops. I don't wear flip flops at work, but I've seen folks do it, and you can get away with it. You don't have to wear a suit. They're a little more loosen up. It's kind of a dream job. You get free donuts once a week.
Nice, them free donuts.
Are they special Simpson donuts?
Yeah, some of them look like Simpson donuts. But I think any donut is Simpson donut at this point.
Yeah.
But you better make sure you get to work early that day, because they're usually gone by the time I get there.
So how does that process? So tell us about how these, just for our basic audience who doesn't know anything about making a cartoon or brainstorming so what do? You take they write a script for you, and then you guys go into a writer's meeting or illustrator's meeting, and you talk about it. And how does that work?
The complex system, pretty much. I would like to think standard protocol and compares to everybody else in the industry or animation industry, because that's a whole new can of worms. It's not live action, but it's same process. You do a script first, then you hand it out, to the artists. You get crews, different directors, and they all direct in simultaneous episodes.
So how do they direct? So they direct you? Do they direct you in your process?
Yeah.
Like, how does that go? Like, how do you receive a direction? Like, how do we direct you?
Well, interestingly enough, I was an assistant director for years. So I've been on the show for so long. Even though when I left for 10 years, I took a break.
Oh, wow.
When I worked for Warner Brothers doing all the superhero stuff. That's kind of where my heart is at. And I came back, and I've been there for so long that I done just about everything. I went from layout to assistant directing, to doing boards, to animating effects, to like designing characters. And currently I'm designing characters. So the way it works out, you meet up with the director, and you go over your assignment, whatever. Like, I don't know, let's just say Homer dressed like a cowboy. I just made something out of it. That's like an example. So you have to consult. You want him like John Wayne, or kind of like Yul Brynner on that old movie Westworld, so you gotta research it, and you come up with a character. So you get directions from the director. As an assistant director, you consult with the director, and you have the crew coming in your office every day, and you ask you questions, same questions I just asked the director as a designer, people would ask me as an assistant director. So we got multiple crews.
Well, how does that, so listen, so you get the storyboard, or it's not a storyboard, it's a script.
Yes.
Right, and then
storyboard is next. Yeah, the boards are next.
The boards are next, and then that helps you. You don't draw the boards. A storyboard artist.
We have meetings called animatics, which is pretty much the storyboard panels, the extra poses, and the voice. The voice actors record kind of a baseline for everybody to animate, so you can hear the voice, or like, okay, the emotion seems to be like that, so I'm gonna draw Homer crazy, act crazy. So that's a lot in the animating process. Also for boarding.
So wait a second. So the actors act out the script before you draw it?
Yes.
Cool. That's nice. Perfect.
So they will read for each episode before they do that properly, like a sort of a public rehearsal. And I've been to a few, and they're pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's very cool. So you get to hear that performance first, and then that influences your intuitive talent to how you're going to get it down on the page.
Exactly. I mean, if you read in the script, I'm so happy. It doesn't say anything, but if you read, oh, I'm so happy, and then you go, oh, okay, it sounds. Should I add a shoulder shrug at the end? It comes to life with voice. It's a combination.
Right.
Well,
without the art, it'll be an amazing radio show. We both need each other. It's a teamwork. It's a team effort.
But that's really cool. That means it's a continual flowing creative endeavor between a whole lot of people as you guys get into your flow. It's like, that's cool. That's really cool. So, but you're having a unique talent, and we've never had an illustrator on the show, but it's kind of like if you can draw, like this must be like you probably came out of the womb drawing. You probably like said, oh,
yeah.
You probably realized that like at 3, everybody's like, oh my God, this guy can draw.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, my kindergarten teacher used to keep my drawings, and my parents got mad at them. Hey, these are my kids. And kids would no, the other kids wouldn't believe it that I drew it, and they all would get in fights and arguments with me. No, I drew that. I just did that, and no one would believe it. That's when an adult did it. Even my own kindergarten teacher was like, you got to stop. You got to ask your parents to start drawing things for you. And I'm like,
oh wow,
what do you mean? I drew that. So I was born with this gift, and you learn how not to take it for granted, because some people do. It's like walking.
Yeah.
You see a guy in a wheelchair, you're like, wow, I really appreciate my legs and my situation. So you don't take it for granted after a while. It's art, you can be born with it, or you can develop it.
Well, clearly was from another lifetime, must have been a master artist, do you think?
I don't know.
He's not even overthinking it. He just draws.
I never thought about that. You're right. Yeah, probably I was an artist in some other lifetime. Yeah.
Well, usually when it's that proficient, that's like the crossover, Well, it's okay for me to say that to you, since you want us to all talk about aliens too.
Yeah, sure.
no, but
8 ball down with me. I'm really comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Well, what's cool is, oh my God, I was blowing out the sound. I can't believe I did that. I got so wrapped up with them, I blow out the sound. Hey, so here's what's, but not. Gosh. I mean, that alignment with your imagination. So, and then getting your body to cooperate specifically with what the imagination is suggesting. I mean, to me, that's just a mind-blowing, fun process. But see, you're on The Simpsons, so you don't appear to have much of a sense of humor.
No, it's the most.
You must have a huge sense of humor.
I know. I'm realizing that lately, after working on this show for so long, you have a pretty good sense of humor.
That's what I'm saying. You must have a tremendous sense of humor. I mean, you guys must be cracking jokes all day long on each other.
Yeah. Well, I'm human. I get pissed off. I become overwhelmed with happiness. Depends on the situation. I'm normal, but overall, I kind of take a sarcastic crack at things in life. I have a pretty
No,
What's the most profound thing that Bart has taught you, or which character has taught you the most profound thing? Because The Simpsons are known for forecasting a lot of things. I don't know if you follow
I don't know,
counterculture,
like,
but they'll bring up stuff that's been on the show all of a sudden, in real time from years past.
Well, no, but in the show, you're interpreting the characters. God, why am I so loud? What is going on here with this thing?
Maybe I turned the
all of a sudden I'm loud. But it seems like you, in terms of your interpretation and the nuance of understanding the comedy and how to make those characters work, because like Suzanne said, and as everybody knows, there's always a sarcastic political bent on just about everything they do, and it's still so funny and relevant to this day after, like, I don't know how many years, 30 years or something like that. I mean, how do you interpret the material? Gosh, what am I trying to say? The comedy in that show is so profound. The characters seem to be so much in sync with what's actually happening. You got to assume that are the directions given to you comedic directions, or is that more of something that you intuitively pick up, and then they appreciate the nuance of what you bring to the art in terms of creating and accentuating the comedy?
Both. It's not this or that. It's this and that. That's like Bashar says, my favorite line. It's a bit of everything. Mostly they have a formula, and you follow this protocol. That's what show such huge, epic production, come to life. You kind of follow those protocol rules, and it comes to life. You watch it come to life.
How have you in this time of COVID? How, is the industry has that show been affected at all by the by the shutdowns?
Well, not as much as other folks, because they shut down the studio home sometime in March 16. I was coming from Vegas and I went straight home to the studio, and then they sent me straight home, and I've been working from home ever since, which I don't mind. I actually like enjoying my home for a change. Otherwise, I'm working my ass off for what? I'm not even here ever. So it's for a change. I'm actually enjoying my studio and my home. We have to come out. It was challenging with the way and how to interact with directors, to meet up and ask them 20 questions, and how you submit your art, time cards, all the corporate things that follow. So it was challenging. We figured it out. I think the whole crew did pretty good. We had a few bumps on the road at first, but now it's smooth sailing. And in comparison to most people, I mean, you don't need live actors to be in a set. Everybody can record it from their home studio, or you can draw from home. And hey, this is what I did. Those are my storyboards, or that's my design, or I animated this sequence or that scene, and you can do it from home now. So in comparison to most people, I think we're lucky. We've been blessed. I think animation should be in demand, especially now.
Oh, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
So I hope it keeps. I like feeding the monkeys, so I hope they keep going as long as possible.
So can you kind of glossed over it. I'm curious. I even pulled up an article here. They're recorded, and I know there's more than that, but I've noticed over the past 10 to 20 years that The Simpsons predict the future. For example, 19 years ago, an episode of The Simpsons predicted that Donald Trump would one day be the U.S. president. Now, have you ever tracked any of these curious anomalies?
Look, I'm just a poor boy that was born in Argentina that happens to work on the show.
Yeah. Well, 19 years is quite that's quite.
No, that's a long time. Yeah,
it's like you had a seer there that was writing the script.
They do seem to be pretty prophetic. Like some things come to pass. I notice. I mean, people brings it up to me all the time, all my friends and family, because they know I work on the show. And they're like, "Hey, is this you?" I'm like, "No, I had nothing to do with that. I didn't even work on that episode, or maybe I was the director or designer. I don't know."
Well, listen, a multi-talented guy like you. I mean, you're drawing cartoons. I mean, do you endeavor? I mean, you have your Marvel, which you seem to you kind of spoke longingly for Marvel challenges in terms of those particular characters. But I guess, given your skill, I mean, did you endeavor into the fine arts? Do you have your own work on the side that you or you just don't have any time for that?
Both. Also both. Whenever I can find a minute, I think this weekend, for the first time in 2 months, I'm gonna have time to work on one of my digital paintings. So I can't wait to start.
Do you have an example of any? Oh, we have an example of one of those digital paintings. Wait a second.
Golden Magic I have up for him right now.
Golden Magic? Yeah, nice.
Oh,
you painted that? You digitally drew that?
Yeah, I painted on Photoshop from scratch. I printed it on a canvas, so it's a sheet clay, so it looks like a painting. And then I added detail with acrylic, and that Golden Magic piece, I added gold paint. And I texturized it with gel, so it has texture, so it's an actual original. It's not just a print, and it's 3D. You put on your glasses, and some things take depth, and it becomes 3D.
I have that painting in the promo that we didn't quite get through that I blew, but at the end we'll be able to see that. We'll be able to see that awesome painting. So what do you do with a painting like that? Is it something that you sell? Is it something that you just push your own craft with? I mean, what do you do with it?
Yeah, I'm gathering a whole bunch to make my first solo show and do a gallery and sell the originals. Maybe take commissions, reprint them, and paint them all. Since it's a digital, the 80% done digitally, I can always reprint it, and every time I add details, it'll be an original. It'll never be like the other piece, so I can sell that as well. The idea is to make that more of a full-time job. It's just they keep me really busy on Simpsons. I barely have time for my own things,
Right.
which is a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to get to this point when I'm going to start my 20th painting. So I have 20 pieces.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Hopefully, when all this COVID thing pipes down, a gallery and you know.
That's special work, though. That's like a super detailed. I mean, it's amazing that they relegate you to the cartoon levels when you have such a huge skill set. Are you an anomaly in that room, or are there a lot of fine artists like you working on the cartoon?
Yeah, there's a few. It's not everybody. You get all sorts of different artists. I mean, some people are really good at doing backgrounds, and some people are really good at doing characters. Some people are best at doing cartoons, and some other people like to paint realistically. But there's a few artists in the studio that are really amazing painters as well. I'm not the only one. It's not everyone, but there's a few. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, what is the day? So you're a poor boy from Argentina. I don't believe that. That's crazy, but I believe it. And then you get thrust right into Hollywood immediately, and you've been in LA for what, 20 years?
Something like that. I lost track.
Lost track?
Yeah, since '92. Yeah.
And so that's how has your transition between Argentina and LA worked out for you? Have you found this place to be wonderful and friendly? Have you loved the attention? Have you loved the parties? Are you sick of it? Are you over it? You're looking to go to Utah, Montana, back to Argentina? I mean, what? I mean, are you over the whole LA thing? You just go to work, or you just still having fun?
Well, a bit of both. You know, lately, I mean, I've been here for so long. I kind of grew up here, so it's kind of part of my heart. I love LA. It's the only place that you can go surf and go snowboarding the same day.
Right.
You know, I don't know anywhere else in the world you can do that. So I love the nature part. You know, the artistic, the film industry. It's always there. It's became normal to me, and I appreciate that. But there are a lot of things that are like earthquakes, fires, like all that. Like, you know, I really don't like the Santa Ana winds, you know. So there's a lot of things that I'm not crazy about, and I consider like somewhere a little more mellow. Since I can work from home, you know, and things change now. Everybody can work from home. Well, nowadays they have to figure it out. So I don't know. That's always in the back of my mind. Like,
you know what I'm getting the sense that you're just this uber talented guy, and when you came here, you don't look like you're more than 35, 37 years old or something.
Really? I'm 52. Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Kid at heart.
He's a freaking kid at heart. This kid. So
that's the secret of keeping young. You gotta be a kid at heart.
That's awesome. Your voice even sounds young. So you came here like when you were 30. So
if you make cartoons for a living, you don't stay young at heart, then you're in the wrong industry.
Well, dude, you look healthy as a horse, and you look like you're eating right. You look like you're on that LA diet for sure.
I do. I exercise, and I used to train martial arts for a long time until I got tired of getting beat up and bruised up. So take it easy. I just do workout just to stay fit, you know.
Yeah. Got any ladies in your life?
Yeah, I have a girlfriend. She's also an artist. Yeah, amazing human being.
Aww.
Well, so if you were to think about all the people that would love to be doing what you would be doing, and we've got a bunch of them listening. In terms of here's a gentleman that is in the industry, in the business, and they're listening to you. and they would, let's just say that they're really shy, because artists have a tendency to be shy, and they don't know how to, and let's just say that they know that they're really talented, and they wound up in kindergarten doing the same stuff you were doing, having your paintings and drawings stolen by the teachers, and they know that they're skilled. What would be first steps for somebody who's really uber talented? I mean, how would they go about possibly getting an opportunity like you got?
Well, I always tell people that don't be afraid and follow your heart. Just overcome fear and just follow your gut. Just if you really love art, and regardless if it's designing cartoons or making comic books or I don't know, painting murals or whatever your cup of tea is, just follow that, embrace it, have fun doing it, enjoy it. Do it from your heart, and that's gonna pay off because people notice talent. True talent doesn't go unnoticed. Sooner or later, someone's gonna, say, "Hey, I heard they were looking for an artist like you," or you never know. You get offers, and you just gotta get your art out there. Study, techniques.
Like, how would you study a drawing technique? What does that entail?
Well, techniques as in like basic things for someone that's a newbie or just getting into this. There's certain techniques or rules like perspective for shortening, like when you have your hand all there, they call that for shortening. But how do you draw a giant hand as if it's in front of the camera? Nowadays, you get cameras. You can take a selfie and then copy yourself as a model.
Hands are the most difficult part to draw in the human body, right? The hand is like, that's where you can tell somebody really knows what they're doing, right?
Well, I did a little life drawing to study human anatomy for a few years. I thought it was necessary. I mean, how do you draw your armpit connecting to your shoulder?
Exactly.
From this angle.
Yeah.
You gotta know your muscles and your anatomy. But like that's a technique, life drawing, or lighting, shadowing, composition. There's a construction. You do a circle, and that's the skull, and then you do a line, and then the eyes are equally divided within that line. So there's always all these techniques, all these things, color, it's endless. I mean, it's such a huge array of different art styles and things you can learn, and I don't think a lifetime it's enough to dedicate to art. Is so much.
Share with the audience, because you're working with how many people are drawing the same characters, where you guys have to make sure your styles are consistent so they look.
Yes.
That's not an easy task.
We have certain guidelines on how to draw Bart. He's supposed to have 9 spikes in his head, so you do 3 and 3 in the middle is 3 more.
Do you have a piece of paper there? You have a piece of paper there to draw Bart really fast?
No, I don't.
Oh man! I'm gonna watch this guy work his wizardry and throw it right up there.
Yeah, so this. I don't have it. Let me draw my hand. Well, there's certain rules, like for the body, it's the size of the head. We all have to follow those rules, and after working on the show for so long, you can tell. That's in so and so Homer. So and so drew that. Even though to the untrained eye or regular folks, I may look the same, but we can tell after working with each other for so long, everybody kind of has a slight style. But even though we all, we got 100 artists drawing Homer, we all know how to draw.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that, though, when another artist takes it on, because it's like Bugs Bunny. When another artist takes on Bugs Bunny and it's slightly different, it's like, that's not Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Like the geometry's there, but the vibe just isn't there. They didn't capture Bugs in that particular shot. But
yeah, we're pretty good at that. We train everybody, practices enough to get the hang of those basic rules. Right. And then we all do our best to make all the characters look like the same hand drew it. That's pretty standard for all, like Rick or Morty or any other show for that matter. That's what I do. I like designing because I get dibs on things, and then everybody's got to look at that model for reference and try to make it look like that.
It makes it easier for you.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't like bossing people around and fixing people's mistakes, even though, being an assistant director was a great experience and looked great in your resume. I'm an artist. I like drawing. I like to spend my time drawing and coming up with stuff that hasn't been done before. That's my cup of tea. I like to take a crack at things for the first time, and that's the fun part. At least to me, it is. So
with your own individual art, what's your favorite medium? Is it all digital, or do you do any mixed medium on canvas, direct?
Yeah, it's mixed media. I like and you can shrink and resize things much, airbrush, and without using a mask,
Right.
But then I like printing on canvas, and I enjoy painting with acrylic on it as well. Mixing colors, old school, and touching things up. I enjoy that as well.
Well, so it's so cool. This guy's freaking. He's like super cool. He's got everything in control. Everything's in order.
Yeah.
Come on, in 20 plus years in LA, something must have been wrong. You must have had a challenge. What happened? What happened to you? How did you manage to get through this unscathed?
I don't know. I think.
Go ahead.
Mostly,
come on, one tragic weird LA story. Come on.
Oh, I have a whole bag of those.
So good. Hey, see that, ladies and gentlemen? He's not perfect.
I'm half human.
Half human.
So yeah.
The other half, you're some Marvel superhero, right? That's what you kind of look like. You could be Batman, actually. I can see you playing
I like
Batman.
Doctor Strange.
I was gonna say, I saw your photo. I'm like, that's
I love
an
Doctor
awesome
Strange.
character.
I saw Doctor Strange for the first time when I was 7. My cousin just gave me this comic. Here, you want this? And I'm gonna throw it away. I'm like, no. So I kept it, and it was a team up of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. That's my first comic book at 7. So I learned about having an outer body experience when I'm 7 years old, thanks to Marvel and Doctor Strange. So that kind of opened my brain and got my curiosity on the paranormal and what's an outer body experience, like all the spiritual things, the magic. So I've been into that for a while. And I think it's kind of, to answer your earlier question, it's what keeps me Zen or center. It's my whole spiritual practices and beliefs. That's
what we want to know. That's what we want to know. That's the key. That's the key to your genius. That's the key to the Batman aura. That's the key to this Doctor Strange aura that you have. So when did you discover Zen?
Well, my dad was pretty out there. I come from a Catholic background. I mean, being born in Argentina, most people are like that. But I don't consider myself Catholic. I'm pretty out there.
Well, I started out Catholic or Christian, and then at 21, my Seido karate teacher, Taicho Nakamura, took us all up to the Zen Mountain Monastery in upstate New York, and we would return there for a week at a time after sitting with the Buddhist monks. So I started off with a Christian belief, but in sitting there in meditative repose, I learned really quickly that whatever it was I thought my religious beliefs were, spiritually, changed quickly sitting in meditative repose, getting whacked by a monk with a big cane stick. So they taught me rather early that there's a place for both things, and as Zazen, moving meditation, which is pretty much what the karate turned into eventually, anyways, was a profound life-changing moment for me. I don't know how that hit you or where it hit you, but there's definitely a moment where you realize, oh, that's good, but this is like, what?
I don't remember my aha moment. I think I kind of ease in year after year after experiencing my dad chanting Oms. I remember asking him at 10 years old, "What's Om, Dad? Like, what are you doing?" And he would walk me through it. I didn't know what to do with it at that time. I just put it in a file cabinet, and then later on in life, when I needed it, I kind of tap into it. I think it was been somewhat conditioned by my young childhood experiences, and then I put it together when I grew up and was old enough
Doctor Strange and your dad Omin.
So someone ask you. Someone ask you. So what's Zen? Help us understand it. But if our audience doesn't understand what Zen is, what is Zen, and how does that apply to your day-to-day routine? How does that help you?
Well, Zen, I mean, it could be many things. I see Zen for center, balance, harmonious. Those are the things that come to mind right now. I could tell you another thing tomorrow. Those are the basic ones.
Is it meditation? Well, it's a practice. So I mean, how do you evoke the Zen state of mind?
I used to meditate a lot, and I tried different techniques. I got really curious and.
What did you try?
Excited.
Tell us.
I did like a little bit of Kunlun Gun meditation. It was more spontaneous bliss, and then you got some other people taught me through Kriya Yoga, and which is more like meditation rather than yoga poses. There's a few things. I study different things, but I don't do one thing in particular. Take and borrow elements of whatever technique I study throughout life, and I borrow little things here and there and make my own. And from experiencing things energetically, and I just whatever works, I'll stick to that. And I've been compiling and making my own stew of spiritual practices, and far so good. Whatever resonates with me, I know it to be true in my heart, and then from seeing results and feeling it, that's kind of what I put into practice. So I don't have like this one thing.
Seeing results and feeling it. So he's so zen, the guy.
Yeah.
See how zen he is, or see how zen he is. He's like very simple. So even in his speech, he is zen. He's very efficient. He's very efficient in his speech, and even for him to be like Bruce Lee and say, "I'm like water," and Bruce Lee would say, "Well, what technique do you teach?" Right? He'd say, "What technique do you teach?" You say, "Well, I keep what works and I throw out what doesn't work, and then I develop my technique." So, right? He's got a Bruce Lee. He's got a Bruce Lee. He's got a Batman. He's got a Doctor Strangelove going on.
Yeah.
I think somewhat we all been conditioned by our heroes and and influences or celebrities to think of people that we looked up, when we're kids, and eventually that stays with you. I know that the water speech about Bruce Lee and that he borrowed elements and made Jeet Kune Do. I know that better than anyone as a martial artist, but it never crossed my mind to think that I've been doing the same with spirituality. That's a great analogy.
Right.
Yeah, I never thought about it.
Well, and being in a busy, working on international production, basically, I think Bart has been around the world, and Homer. How do you integrate this on a daily basis? Then you must stay in the state as much as possible when you're working on deadlines and dealing with stress, or having to boss people around when you'd rather draw.
Well, it depends on the situation, on the emotional state of where you're at that time in life. If you won $1 million or your best friend died in a car accident, you never know. It depends on your emotional state. We're all human. We got these emotions, might as well feel them. So I do my best to remember, stay anchored with all the spiritual thing and keep my zen up. I am human, sometimes you get mad at people, but you do your best to be professional. When it comes to work, I have a little pond on the other side of my window, so I open the window and the little waterfall sound, it always brings me peace,
No.
Well,
do you know the poem off the top of your head?
I do my best to be conscious of all these things, but when I work, it could be anything. I can talk to you and draw at the same time. After doing it my whole life, I'm a drummer too, so
He's a drummer. He's a drummer, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the drummer thing going on. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, you can multitask and no problem. You're independent, so you can draw and talk and do things like that. So art, when I do a painting, maybe I take it a little more seriously, and I try to be in that state of mind. If I'm not really feeling it, I'm not going to sit in front of the canvas. It has to come, that inspiration moment that gets you excited to do something new. Then I'll definitely go for it. And I get in the zone. I don't even think about being sane or how to get there. It's like a switch. You click and you're in the zone, and you just do your art, and you can't stop until it's done.
Absolutely. And so some of your profound aha moments, like Doctor Strange, your dad, Omin, I want to hear about these aliens.
Oh, wow, the alien thing. Well, from Doctor Strange to aliens, that's really interesting. I mean, we can take it off world or we can keep it on Earth, whatever you like.
Well, I think for people that have experienced aliens or maybe think they've experienced them, is off world for most people or interdimensional. So could you share
It's everything. It's everything. Yeah, I like to think we live in a multidimensional multiverse.
Yep.
It's not just one plane of existence or timeline. And there's several. I mean, have you ever looked at a galaxy cluster? It's a cloud made of galaxies, and each dot has millions of habitable planets and civilizations. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty vast and huge out there. I'm just curious.
So how do you explain the aliens that you've experienced?
How did I experience?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm about to say now, I never made it public. This is the first time I'm speaking about it. I have my own experience. I saw an alien watching me sleep, 4 feet, little gray. That at that time, with my knowledge of what I knew about that certain species and abductions and all that, I took it, I didn't know what to do. The minute I opened my eyes, I saw it vanishing, like when you reduce the opacity in Photoshop. So I'm like, this cute little thing. And my initial reaction was like, oh, it looks kind of cute. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't scary.
Right.
Especially since I lost my fear when I went to the YeShe ranch back in 2009. Step one, lose your fear. The outcome of any experience is going to be 100% different if it's from fear-based. So it's going to paralyze you, and it's no bueno. So
are you kidding me? Give that guy a bell. That's a beautiful thing. I knew we'd get it. I knew we'd get to some gems in this guy.
Just like the aliens and
the alien thing. I wasn't
where
scared.
You lost your fear. Where did you go?
So I opened my eyes and saw this being looking at me. And I'm like, okay. By then, I already seen countless UFOs, not just from my backyard, but different places that I hear that it's like a hot spot. So I go check it out and look at it myself.
Ah, you're a stargazer. You're a stargazer.
You'll be amazed at things you see. Right. So I lost track how many ships I've seen, colors, ships in different speeds and close and distance and far away. It's amazing. You'd be amazed if you'll just look what the things that you can find. But in regards to that sighting, I just woke up after that, and I remember I got up, when I keep looking at that empty spot, I keep moving my hand like, did it disappear? Is it there? And I went to the bathroom because I was half asleep, and I kept thinking, be careful what you think of. They're telepathic. If you're positive and you're a benevolent being, then you're always welcome. And if you're not, I'm not afraid of you. You're at my house. Get out of here. Welcome. I'm not afraid of you. Stay away from my chakras and my aura, whatever. I was half asleep, so
yeah. I
went back to bed and nothing happened. And then I was like, okay, there's definitely something. There's got to be something more to seeing it. If you wake up and you see a little guy looking at you, it's not just it's not like a human petting zoo when they just check you out. That's it. There's got to be something more, some meaning or agenda. So
you don't have any midgets that work at The Simpsons that just pulled a practical joke on you, do you?
I don't know.
Well, I'm so proud of you. You had such good adept awareness to protect your mind's eye and your chakras, and to send away bad beings. You were just like a regular Carlos Castaneda right then.
Yeah, but the best way to find out all the missing pieces was to do a hypnotherapy session. I did a session with Barbara Lamb, who is a pretty renowned hypnotherapist that dedicated her life to experiencers. So I did a session with her, and I remember the whole thing, and with detail, and it was very different, and she was surprised herself because I was not paralyzed, and it didn't come from fear. I kind of enjoyed it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't freak out. I was like, oh, cool.
There's that warrior spirit, baby. You got that warrior spirit. Let me live it. Let me taste it. Let me feel it. Take a risk.
So yeah, that changed everything. At least knowing all the details of that thing, the whole experience. It brought more awareness and confirmation that I was glad I wasn't looking at it with fearful eyes, and yeah. And
wow, what an experience! I've never had that.
Oh, that you remember? Maybe you did, and you don't remember.
Yeah, you remember those moments.
Yeah.
Suzanne, have you ever had an encounter, a close encounter?
I have. I've had actually a couple.
Oh my God! See, I'm the only one. I'm left out here.
And mine was kind of like you. I said, well, I must be fine. Like, it didn't cause any harm or anything like that. So I just felt actually safe and figured that I couldn't go wrong in that moment.
All right, you guys have to compare notes to see if it was the same guy.
Well, it gets a lot more interesting and weird. It happened again. That was in 2010. I haven't seen anything ever since. At least close encounter wise, but I've seen ships all the time.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say ships? What does that mean?
Spaceships, as in flybys.
Oh, spaceships.
Yeah.
I wish I had that picture of you in your space. I have it in the promo. You're actually in the promo. I put it in there and I didn't get the promo. You'll see the promo at the end. We'll send it to you just for fun, so you remember.
Enough. I made my own spaceship. I built an R car for Burning Man. I made it into the classic UFO with a dome and all this flying saucer shapes.
I know, it's cool. That's very cool. You built that. I know. You look like a kid in a candy shop sitting in that thing.
I had a crew that helped me. If it wasn't for them, I had a great friend of mine that orchestrated the whole thing, Tomas Verdick. He passed away recently, but he put it together. He had the whole infrastructure, and I didn't want to be like some rich a-hole smoking a cigar. Oh, ha ha! Build me a ship. I was like, no. I want to be more like Tony Stark. I want to become a grease monkey and learn every bolt and everything about this thing, because I'm going to keep it for life. So I want to know how to take care of it. So I got involved in every step of the way. And, it was a transformational experience, that's for sure. If you ever build an R car.
So where do you keep that thing? You keep it in your garage or out in your front yard?
No, he had a studio, he had a special place for that, a workshop where they put our carts together. At that time, he did anyway, a chicken coop. So yeah, it was good times, good people. Creating vehicles in an artistic way. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but what did you do with it? Did you just?
Is it at your house?
Is it at your house?
Right now, it's in my front yard on a trailer. I have a custom-made trailer and a custom-made cover. It's like one of a kind, so I had to go the extra mile, and it's just sitting in my driveway until the next gig.
Nice.
I was supposed to take it to Vegas on Thursday, but I can't because I'm working for Simpsons. So sorry, folks.
So when was your second encounter? Was it the same alien?
Oh, my second encounter? Oh, jeez.
I'm so curious.
I know, this is kind of cool. This is like we got a real.
This is a weird thing. I've never went public with this, so.
Well, I can vouch for you. Mine was in a lucid.
Okay.
Mine was in a lucid dreaming state also. So there's those commonalities.
No, I was awake.
This
I was
one you were awake
when I saw that. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I was awake, but coming out.
I was sleeping.
Yeah.
And
then you woke up.
I wake up, but maybe like 2-3 feet above my bed. And paralyzed, and I'm floating on top of my bed, and I see the same kind of being that I saw earlier, the little gray, the cute ones, and I saw a bunch of little heads moving around because I couldn't move, so my peripheral view, I can see the little heads moving around. And again, the key of this is not giving into fear. So I immediately, instantly, without even thinking, I'm like, okay. I connected with the source within God, whatever you want to call it, and try to feel it, feel that when I connect with that, because I believe we all have a fragment of the source, and we all have God within us eternally. God is an eternal being, so your spirit that's in your pineal gland will live eternally. So I'm an eternal being. I have nothing to fear, and then God is with me all the time. So what am I afraid of?
What?
Exactly.
Give that guy the bell. Give that guy the bell. Give that guy the bell. Oh my God, this guy is like off the hook
I'm
chain.
an eternal being, and God is with me at all times. What do I have to fear?
Instantly, once I feel that, when you get goosebumps, I feel that energy. I know God is with me. So in the minute I raise my frequency and I felt that warm feeling that God's with me, I start coming down, and everything went away, and I was fine. And it was just studying me. They're curious. Why am I not freaking out or scared? What is with this human that doesn't have fear? So they're like, they're very scientific. So they're just studying me, they're as curious as I am. They're just a little more technologically advanced. And, and that's it, and I had a good experience. I haven't seen him in a long time. So I think they got what they wanted, and it was a good experience.
Wow, that's wild. That's wild. That's wild. Your frequency, though. I mean, even... See, we're getting started. You're revealing your genius here bit by bit. There's like these little things that kind of sneak out. I'm waiting for you to pull the mask off of your face and then reveal the alien underneath. Exactly.
You're from the gray alien colony.
Yeah, he starts to peel away, skin, a little light starts to burst out.
Did you do a drawing of him?
Yeah, actually, because it wasn't about fear. Like, some folks had really bad traumatizing experiences. Not all. There are different beings out there that have been visiting Earth before all of us were born. It's been going on for hundreds of years, and not everybody had the same experience. So I'm blessed. Maybe because I do my best to resonate in a high frequency, and a vibrational frequency. Maybe that's what keeps the crazy ones away, like a shield.
Does that work with women too? Does that work with women too? Like, how do you keep the crazy ones away?
That's impossible. You have to be a guru, a love guru like Mike Myers to know that answer.
So it works with aliens, but it doesn't work with the ladies. Okay, well, there you go.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a combination of what do you choose to be and how to be that affects the outcome of your reality.
I love the Zen sneaking out of you. So we only got a couple minutes left with your awesome presence. If there's anything you'd like to share, I mean, we seem like we've been twisting your arm to get you to share, but you've been very good. Is there anything based on your experience, and it seems to be quite vast, like there's a global secret subtextual thing about you that, you're like a secret, you're a bit of an enigma, which is really cool. But if somebody wants to be like you, what are 3 steps we would have to take to be like you?
3 steps? Oh my God.
Yeah, like to have that composure you have, to have that the discipline you have, to have the wide open perspective that you have. Let's change it a little bit. If you were God, and you had 3 things that you would want your fellow humans to have, especially in this turmoil time that we live in, what would they be? 3 things.
Love, peace, and joy.
Look at you. Look at you just rattle those things off. How do you define love?
Love, I can go off the Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty approach as a chemical thing and go on that, or I can do love as the most powerful force in the universe and the highest of the most vibrational frequencies. I think love, it's all you need.
And so, even from a Zen perspective, that's your love. That's what you want us to have. You want us to have that. So, how does that help me?
Love, it makes you feel different. Like, if you're raised with love and people loves you and give you positive vibes and treat you with kindness and respect, it's going to affect and how you treat them back and how you feel. And if everybody could do that for each other, I think we will live in a very different world.
Yes, there you go. One, so joy. So how's joy different than love? What do you say, love? What?
Love, joy, and peace.
Love,
So how do you
peace,
define joy as opposed to from love? What's joy?
joy? It's what brings you happiness, what makes you happy, other than love. To follow your heart, have the courage to follow your heart, and
Have the courage to follow your heart. Love, courage to follow your heart, and define peace for us.
Peace, it's the opposite of war. Peace, like, don't fight, kids. Can we just get along? You know, it's just
Effortless.
Let's find a peaceful way. No, don't fight, kids. Play nice. Just be nice. You know, peace. Just peace out. You know.
That's beautiful. And so there you have it. Those are our three gifts from Tommy Tejeda, Simpsons illustrator, Marvel illustrator, Alien,
Doctor Strange.
Alien Encounters, Zen. I think Zen Master. I think Zen Master. I think you got a
That's why
Zen
the
Master
Greys
thing
are
going on
the
there.
Greys
Far
are
from a master.
observing you. Those gray aliens are observing you.
Because you laugh, we know you're hiding your secret. You just don't want anybody else to know. We just revealed it. Well, Tommy, listen, we're gonna send you out. You've been just an awesome indie creator in the JoyZone. This is Thomas Artavani and Suzanne Toro, and we'll send you a little link to the little show that you just participated in. And if anything you want to share, if you have any more alien encounters, we would love to be the breaking news on that, and we can have you on, and we can just break the news again, because they seem like they're all around you, and you are lucky enough to draw that sort of energy, and they trust you. I think there's something in that that makes you're a bit of a blessed person to be trusted with that sort of encounter, and I think they probably have an intuitive sense of what's good and what's evil, and they've chosen you to be good, so good for you. And so have we. So you're an awesome guy. Thanks so much for taking the time. We know your time's valuable, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a true pleasure meeting you both and being on the show.
All right.
Thank you, Tommy. Keep up the great work.
So let's watch that little trailer there.
Wearing scars from a culture of violence. Far too young to already have carried the cross. No escape, feeling hopelessly at a loss. Ready to cross the line, had nowhere else to hide. She heard a voice that spoke from somewhere deep inside of her. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. The whole world blind. The whole world blind. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. The whole world blind. The whole world blind.
All right. I mean, what a profound experience that was. What a special guy.
Yeah, it's so much fun. So sincere and humble.
I mean, talent. I mean, you could see that's what we find too. I mean, the really, really talented ones, like
I could just see him.
like they're encased and because they just do the work. They're just doing their work all day long. They're just doing their work. They're just good at it. They don't question it. They're in the rhythm. They have their extraordinary hobbies. They have the things that they want to do on the side. They're creating masterpieces. He's creating masterpieces on the side, like it's nothing.
Absolutely.
No, like it's absolutely nothing. I mean,
That's where his passion is. I think
Yeah,
that art.
how he pushes the boundaries of even drawing something as for him as simplistic as as Homer on The Simpsons, and how they managed to emulate and recreate and keep entertaining with us with that show year after year after year. I mean, really courageous creators for sure.
Absolutely. The humor never gets old.
Yeah, no, and it's fun talking to an illustrator. Even though he's an illustrator, you can see the parallels between an illustrator and an actor, a dancer or a filmmaker or an editor or an athlete. You can start to see where they're using another basis on which to evolve. They're finding that still point, and then they're recovering, and then engineering and creating from that place out into the world that they're serving. And it's that was fun.
Absolutely. Really fun to engage. And I think, for anyone that's not involved in, creating movies or cartoons or illustrating like that, there's a lot of people involved. And so I always have such great appreciation, even for what they have to do for each show. There's a lot to happen, and everyone drawing the same and everything like that.
No, I love the rhythm though, the sequencing and the actual dance between the writers and the actors, and then the illustrators who get to experience it, and then add the nuanced touches to characters after they get to hear the actors act it.
Yeah.
I mean, that really to me sounds like a super fun process.
Tandem performance.
No, absolutely for sure.
So, what a journey. We had 2 great shows back to back today.
Yeah, YeShe and Tommy Tejeda. Tommy Tejeda, isn't that funny? Tommy Tejeda. It's a great. It's a good. My old name was Tommy Lee. He's Tommy Tejeda. Tommy Tejeda.
Tommy Tejeda. Spaceship.
With the spaceship in his front yard with alien encounters under his belt. Awesome.
Yeah.
Really super show.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we're gonna send out some more music, and so that who do we have next week?
Well, we're waiting for confirmation, but we should be having Tina Malia. She actually got caught up in the fires up in Oregon, so that's to be determined. But we'll have our lineup on our page.
Where can we find this show that we just did that went out live to several?
This show right now is on Facebook at ICJZ TV, but it'll also be on iHeartRadio. It'll be on iTunes. It'll be on Spotify. All those different locations, and we'll put the links from the Facebook page out, and also we'll put the same links available on Instagram at ICJZTV.
Well, that sounds great. So let's. Is this some random rap? Who's doing this song?
This is Random Rap. I thought this was a perfect intersection for aliens. Remember his thing was the penguins. The aliens would hang out with the penguins. So.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening.
Have a good one.
Suzanne Toro. Random Rap.
Random Rap.